All right, welcome back. We're going to go over some more 10th edition stratagems. Both of these we're going to go over are complicated. Not in complicated to play, but they're not worded well. They're worded about as well as I sound. Um, so for Epic, this one is during the fight phase when you have a character unit or attached character that is in engagement range of one or more attached units. So what they're saying is you have a character or a character inside a unit that is in engagement range of an enemy unit that has a character inside it. So what you're doing is you're effectively targeting your character that is in engagement range of this enemy unit that has a character inside, and all of its attacks gain the precision keyword for that weapon. What it really means is that when the attacks of that character model have target the enemy unit, who can allocate those attacks to the chosen character, enemy character, instead of it normally being your opponent who gets to choose which model takes the damage. So it's worded kind of weird, and it really only gives you the information of the keyword precisions. Then you flip to the other part of the book in order to find the explanation of that. But basically, again, epic challenge, your character is swinging at a character that's inside an enemy. Instead of allocating to the attacks to the unit, you instead get to choose to allocate those attacks to the character itself. You get around a bunch of its bodyguards. This is potentially a very powerful stratagem, but this is when your character unit goes to attack. So you're going to use this right before you swing, not after you've seen how many hits and things like that. Bear in mind, though, that when you do this epic challenge, you had something very similar to this back in 7th and prior. This is only one-sided. So your attacks or their attacks, whichever ones you epic challenge, gain precision and get to go with that character. Let's say you don't kill that character, and then the enemy unit goes to swing. Well, that character's attacks, unless they also use epic challenge stratagem, are going to be allocated to the unit as a whole. So if you also have bodyguards, they won't be able to target you specifically without also using stratagem. Now, that being said, it's when they go to attack. So if you end up killing off the character, it's not like they've wasted a command point, because they don't really have to use that command until they know they're going to be attack. There's a lot to this one, but it is going to be very powerful when it gets. So keep this in mind. So we'll move on to the next stratagem. Next one's called Tank Shock. This is in your charge phase when a vehicle unit from your army charges successfully. At the end of the charge move, you get to choose a melee weapon that is equipped with, and you get to roll a d6 equal to the strength value of that weapon. Most vehicles are only one melee weapon, but because it's generically vehicles, we're going to have some that's not true on, like dreadnoughts and things like that. So if the strength characteristic of that weapon greater than the enemy unit's toughness that you're targeting, you get to roll an additional 2d6s. So for explanation here, we'll call it strength 8. But let's say the enemy's toughness is 5. Because I'm higher, instead of rolling the normal 8d6s, we're going to roll 10. Now, for each of these dice individually, for each 5+ that you roll, the enemy unit is going to suffer a single mortal wound. Now, because not only are we getting these extra d6s, but we're also talking about having a pretty high number of dice here, because we're using the strength characteristic of a melee weapon for a vehicle, which is usually going to be pretty high. It caps us at 6 mortal wounds. So 5+, statistically, we're going to need a lot of dice to get more than 6 mortal wounds unless we spike pretty hard. But on average, 6 seems like a fair number. I think they just put that cap in there to keep us from accidentally rolling crazy. Now, the other thing that's a little odd about this is you have to keep in mind multi-charges. So it specifically calls out one enemy unit. So when we declare a charge, even engagement range of multiple enemy units, we have to choose one of them. Then that's the unit that we determine the toughness, so we can find out if we get the bonus d6s and things like that. So there's a couple of odd restrictions here, not worded super well. I try to clean it up a little bit, and even then, it's still not great. But again, this one could matter a lot, especially if we're trying to hunt that character inside a unit. On the charge with a vehicle, being able to get a few mortal wounds in to break off a couple of bodyguards, so that when our vehicle actually goes to attack, it can get to the character, could be a pretty big deal.